Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MR Podcast. The MR Podcast is available on all mainstream radio platforms. Make sure you follow us, subscribe to never miss any of our many episodes. In 2020, we are hosting series such as College Life, in the words of a college student, Woman Empowerment, Biblical Mentorship, and Productivity 101. This year, the podcast will bring on many guests, such as coaches, teachers, speakers, authors, and many other renowned individuals. Today's special episode is an extension to this month's affirmation series, Part 12, Manifest Wealth. Chapter 2, The Mind is a Rich Landscape, Attracting Abundance. And we have the perfect guest today. Today we have the guest Bri Seeley on the MR Podcast. And the title of today's episode is Manifesting Wealth and Abundance in Your Career. This edition will be great for all budding entrepreneurs like myself. I have an exciting announcement today, by the way. In March, I announced the 5K giveaway on our platform. Now I am happy to say that we have finally reached 5K. Everyone had 2 months to enter, and on Sunday, I will be notifying the 5K giveaway winners. Thank you for all the people and supporters that entered. Do you ever think about how the world needs more people with a mentor mentality? People of all kinds and backgrounds that are willing to care unselfishly about other people, support people, teach people, and serve people. Well, the truth is, as human beings, we all have a potential and purpose that matters. That potential and purpose extends to our relationships with other human beings. As the founder of Mentorship Revolution, I believe that being a mentor is not just a career, but in actuality is a person that is willing to make intentional choices, intentional sacrifices, and contribute to the world and environment through intentional actions and living. Once we learn as human beings to nurture and encourage the purpose we have as individuals, we begin to understand that we can do the same for others. This is also known as the butterfly effect, but I define this as mentorship. Mentorship Revolution was designed to be a new kind of community. Let me emphasize community. MR desires to thrive online and in the real world and society. We desire to reach minds and lives through simple and intentional words and actions. I am very excited that you have joined us today. Right now, if you are still wondering what this podcast holds or why this podcast should even be relevant to you, I will ease your mind by informing you that this podcast will be juicy and full of worthy news and information. The guests on this podcast will be original, unique, and experienced, so please stay tuned. Today on the MR Podcast, we have the one and only Bri Seeley as a guest on the MR Podcast. She is one hell of a lady and businesswoman, I must say. She is a business visionary that specializes in helping entrepreneurs and businesses create long-term, sustainable success. That is, on their terms as well. She understands that one size never fits all, so her approach is customized and tailor-made to each client. Later on in this episode, Bri will talk more specifically about how she is able to help her clients grow and emerge in a very satisfying manner. I myself am excited to hear more about her methodology as a business expert. I haven't finished yet introducing her though. Bri is also a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, the author of the best-selling book Permission to Leap, which I now have in my Kindle library as well, the top entrepreneur coach on Google, and has even been seen on the Today Show, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Yahoo, and more. Welcome to the MR Podcast, Bri. How are you doing this morning? We are so glad to have you.
Hi, thank you.
You're fine.
Good. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to have you today.
Yeah, ditto.
So Bri, even though I have introduced you and how you're the business expert, you're also an entrepreneur coach. Can you introduce yourself in your own way to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have kind of been a lifelong entrepreneur. I grew up with a mom who ran a business and always said that I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, but it's totally the path that I have journeyed down, kind of accidentally, but also very aligned. It was very aligned for me to become an entrepreneur. And the more and more I got into entrepreneurship, the more and more I realized this is just inherently who I am. And so, I kind of, like I said, I got into it accidentally. I started a fashion label in 2007 and just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then in 2015, realized that business was no longer serving me. It was no longer aligned. It was no longer exciting me in any way. And so I closed it and then, started asking the universe what was next. And it was very clear for me to take this next step into, helping businesses grow and entrepreneur coaching, because one, I am inherently an entrepreneur. That's just who I am at my core. Two, I truly believe in helping people create massive amounts of freedom in their life. And then three, it really combined just my natural talents and gifts. So while I was growing and building my fashion business, I also had a job as a vocational counselor. So at the time that I started this business, I had 8 years of experience in counseling and coaching and 8 years of experience in entrepreneurship. And it was just a natural next progression for me to combine those two things and take this step. And I am just entered into my 6th year of business. And things just keep getting better and better. And I get to help and serve entrepreneurs in such an incredible way. And that's what I do.
I think that is incredible. And so today on this episode, we are focusing on manifesting wealth and abundance, particularly in your career. But I would like for us to start by defining wealth, because I know with what you do for a living, you have some kind of definition for wealth that may apply to what you believe wealth may be. So I am going to start by defining wealth. This is research that I found that I felt fit what wealth would mean for some people. And I felt that it kind of like touched me in a way. And a few quotes to start. And after I go, we would love to hear what Bri thinks about wealth. So the definition I am going to use in defining wealth comes from a HuffPost article, which was written by Elliot B. Gown. This is what he says. Today, I view true wealth as a 3-leg stool. The first leg is financial security. The second is living with purpose. And the third is a healthy mind and spirit. The absence of any of the three renders the others incomplete. It takes them all to create real wealth. And here are a few quotes I found that also touch on the meaning of wealth. Wealth flows from energy and ideas. This is a quote from William Feather. Wealth is not about having a lot of money. It is about having a lot of options. And this was said by Chris Rock. So Bri, if you don't mind, from your experience as, working with entrepreneurs, because you've heard people, you've had relationships with people, and I know you may even have had people that asked you, how can I start to build wealth? How can, my business generate wealth and longevity? So in your eyes, what do you think of wealth as?
So I think the first really key aspect to wealth is that more than anything, it's a mindset and a state of being. So yes, there is the financial component to it. Yes, there is the numbers component to it. Yes, there are a lot of components to it, but you cannot create something that you inherently aren't. So if you don't believe that you are wealthy, or if you don't know how to generate the energy of wealth within you to begin with, you cannot create the experience of wealth outside of you. Okay. And now I look at wealth, I love the three-legged stool thing. It's absolutely all of those things. And I also look at wealth as relationships. So for me, I guess I use the word abundance more than I use wealth. And I fully know that in the eyes of the universe, abundance is an energy. And whether it's an abundance of fresh air, or an abundance of sunshine, or an abundance of cuddles with my cat, or an abundance of money or clients or whatever, like the energy of abundance is the energy of abundance. And so for me, yes, money is an aspect of it. I think too much we focus on the money aspect of it, and we focus on the money aspect of it from a place of lack rather than a place of abundance. Okay. And that's kind of one of the main things that I think blocks people. But at its core, wealth is a state of being, and you have to cultivate that inner state in order to then create the outer experience of it.
Okay. Well, I think that's interesting that you said wealth is also you said abundance is energy, and I completely agree with that. So, what the mindset to the manifestation of the things that a person needs and wants. And as you said, with wealth also being a mindset, how do you think people normally, and you can also use your experience, but how do you think that wealthy mindset is normally cultivated? I wouldn't say it's inborn, but how do people normally develop that wealthy mindset? Is it choices? Is it actions? Is it a frame of thinking? What usually leads to the manifestation of having a wealthy mindset and abundance in your life?
So from what I've seen, it's a conscious, purposeful choice. It's people getting to a point where they're like, I am not okay with the way I've been living anymore, and I am unwilling to continue staying here. And so they put a stake in the ground and they say, I'm going to do something about this. A lot of the wealth beliefs that float around in our culture, in our society, in our world are very detrimental and very harmful. And they've been ingrained into us generation after generation after generation after generation. Most people don't even know that they have these things existing within them. Things like how many people's parents told them that money doesn't grow on trees. Why can't it grow on trees? Like, I have a money tree in my bedroom. It has a $10 bill in it, a $1 million bill in it, a Chinese dollar in it, a euro. It has all sorts of money in it. And so, like, you get to create the reality that you want. Unfortunately, most people are living by default, which means that they're living by the things that they've been taught and told for the first, 15 years of their life. And they just keep repeating that stuff over and over and over again through the entirety of their life. So wealthy mindset really the catalyst for it oftentimes is people just being so sick and tired of being broke, and so sick and tired of being in that lack that they put a stake in the ground and decide, I'm going to do something about this because this isn't the only option available to me.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Bri. And, I really do think that the environmental forces do have a lot with how some people think of wealth, because I do know from your experience for working with entrepreneurs and just working with people in the vocational, area at all, have you had people come in that didn't even really understand wealth, or maybe they were never taught that anyone, like, you know, you can be wealthy. They may not have been told that they were to be wealthy because, like you said, they may have just been taught to make a living or just, you know, survive among society. From your experience, what has been the worst you have seen for someone who didn't really understand how they could possibly be a person to generate wealth in their life? Or, as you said, also, it's a state of mind and being as well. But, you know,
one of the biggest things I think I see is I talk to entrepreneurs all day, every day. And the biggest story that I hear from so many people is I can't afford it. And for me, and I say this because I also used to carry around this belief. It was very, very deeply ingrained in me by my mother. I love her so much. And it was very deeply ingrained in her by my grandmother, who I love so very much. And it was deeply ingrained into her by my great grandmother. So it's all this like conditional stuff that's just passed down. But I talk to so many people every single day that have this just deep belief that like I can't afford it. And to me, what I learned is that not only is that just like, one, that belief is based on what has happened to date in your life, right? It's based on the choices you made in the past. So for me, I transitioned out of I can't afford it to, if it's really something that I want, how could I allow myself to afford it? What could I do? Who could I be? What decisions could I make to allow this experience to be my reality? And I just see so many people get stuck in this because we're so conditioned to look to the past for answers and for information. And it's like, well, but if you have new information, you can make new decisions, and then you're not repeating the past, but rather creating a new future for yourself. So if you're making a decision right now based on what's happened in the past, you're just assuming that all things will remain equal moving forward. And, the fact that someone's decided to change their money mindset or decided to take steps forward into entrepreneurship means that there are different results coming in the future, but you cannot create different results if you're obsessed with and attached to everything that's happened in the past. So I think that I can't afford it is probably the biggest thing that I see that holds people back, because it really just stops them from trusting themselves enough to know that they can make more money if they wanted to. They can make more money if they were willing to make different decisions. And unfortunately, a lot of people want the money to come before the decision, and it doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of faith, a lot of trust, and just, I wrote about this entire process in Permission to Leap, is like how you have to be able to trust things you cannot see before you make the decisions, because you will not be able to see them if you don't first trust them.
Right. I absolutely agree with that, Bri. And I had so many questions that not only do I want to know, but I'm pretty sure the audience wants to know. Because for me, talking about entrepreneurism and all of that is very interesting, because 2 years ago when I was 18, it was like a month after I had graduated high school, and I decided that I was going to finally become an entrepreneur. And it was a decision I made, not out of force. Really, I'm not going to say I didn't have examples of strong women in my life, because I have had examples of strong women, but it was just really, for me, a decision I made because I felt driven towards that. And I felt that through divine leading, because I have a strong spirituality, I felt that it was time for me to start. And that's how I started Mentorship Revolution. And so that's the reason why I have so many great questions to ask you for this episode. But I also want to know, Bri, more about your career as a business expert and what you do as a top-ranked entrepreneur coach. How does that look on a day-by-day, weekly, monthly basis?
Yeah, my business, one of my core values is variety. And so the thing about being an entrepreneur coach is that I get a lot of variety. I have so many different things that I get to do to serve people. So like this week, I ran a 4-day training. Obviously right now I'm on a podcast with you. I've been developing up content to share on YouTube and LinkedIn. I've been working through adding more training modules into my trainings. I've been updating my website. I've been onboarding a new employee. I've been prepping search engine optimization strategies for clients. So for me, part of the reason I love what I do so much is that literally every single day in my life looks different. And I get the opportunity to wake up and just face a fresh day every single day. Now, granted, every day is compounding on the last day, right? So I've been doing this for 5 years now. I've had 5 years of compounding actions and compounding energy and all of that stuff, which is beautiful. But I get to start every day with a blank slate and a fresh start and new exciting conversations and opportunities and connections. So yeah, that's part of why I love what I do so much. And then of course the other part of it is just the people that I get to help and the success that I get to help them create in their life and the exciting opportunities and then they get to pay that forward to their clients and their customers. And so yeah, it's an exciting job. It's not for everyone, but it is definitely for me.
Right. Okay. Well, I do want to talk more about how you transitioned from what you were doing before to what you're doing now. But I also want to ask the question because from my experience, I have seen, and many other entrepreneurs can relate to this, but when I first created Mentorship Revolution, I don't know if I had in mind to go more of the nonprofit way, but I certainly didn't have like an engine of I want to profit on this business, but I also were 18 and I may not have been that savvy on, entrepreneurism and business, but I really just created it out of a heart, out of the heart. And I was driven to create it because I wanted to use the gift that God had gave me, which is people ask me questions about it and I'm still developing I have a model for Mentorship Revolution, but the part that I have experienced a crisis or a challenge in now is when you have a business like mine and you do what you do, have you ever had people ask you the question about experiencing problems with profit? Have you ever encountered that yourself? Because I know entrepreneurs go through those struggle years, and I would like to know, not only do I want to hear advice from you on how do you deal with that, but I also want to know how have you dealt with that challenge of dealing with, maybe the profit isn't coming up or like having, being able to decide what areas do I want to profit the most in my business.
Yeah. So first off, I just want to start by saying that, I think that this is the best way to start a business is from the heart. 100%, because your business is an extension of you. And so you need to be in love with and obsessed with your business. Otherwise, on the days when you're not making that profit and it's really hard, there's not going to be a whole lot there to help you continue moving forward. So starting a business from the heart, it's a great, great, great place to be. Now, kind of transitioning into the next aspect of your question, there is a little bit of a problem with starting from the heart. And that is that a lot of entrepreneurs start from the heart and then they don't invest in the knowledge they need to be successful.
Right.
So as of right now, 75% of the entrepreneurs that are in business right now will be out of business within the next 5 to 10 years. That's a really, really, really poor statistic. That's
Yes.
a 25% success rate. So of you, me, and if there were 2 other people on this call, one of us would remain in business, and that's it. And I firmly believe, I've done a ton of research on this, and I firmly believe the reason for this is because people do not educate themselves on what it takes to actually run a business. There are 2 things that we're talking about here. 1, passion. 2, entrepreneurship. You can have both, but you need to invest in learning what it actually takes to be an entrepreneur in order to be a successful one. So you need to understand, how does cash flow in and out of my business? What is my pricing structure to make sure that I'm covering all my expenses and making a profit? What are my marketing strategies to make sure that people are finding me so that I'm serving the right people and they're becoming customers? Like, there's so much that goes into business. And at the end of the day, even though this stuff is our passion, it is still a business, and it needs to be treated like a business. I love what I do. It is the fuel that sets my soul on fire, and it is a business at the end of the day. And so you have got to have both. And then the other thing I'll say along those lines too is that, you know, it can take a little while. If you don't have a strong business acumen, it can take a while for profits to come. You know, I do have a very strong business acumen, and I didn't really start truly generating business money in my business until month 10 of my business. And then even it was still pretty low. And I really didn't I hit the 6-figure mark in my business within 18 months. And then it has been pretty inconsistent in my business. And so, you know, you just need to understand and know business and entrepreneurship and do the behind the scenes work so that you're getting clients in. The clients that are coming in, you're speaking directly to their needs and their problems. You're serving them with something that they need that will actually help them move the needle forward. You're pricing your products and services in alignment with the value you're giving. Like, there's just so many things that go into that. But I really would say, like, you know, I have studied entrepreneurship a lot, and I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years, and I keep studying it. Like, I, at this point, basically have a PhD in entrepreneurship, and I have not stopped studying it or understanding it. So I would tell any entrepreneur that, like, it's good to have passion for what you do, but it's not enough. If you really truly want a business that is going to be profitable, impact the world, and be around for like a long-term, you know, 10, 15, 20, 50 years.
That's absolutely a great wealth of knowledge, Bri, and thank you. So, Bri, I want to know personally, what has been your greatest challenge in getting where you are today in your career, being an entrepreneur coach? Because as you said, it's a journey. And I think that's also a great, you know, that also comes with maturity, understanding that sometimes we have goals that we set, but we have to understand it's a journey to reaching those goals. And, you know, all areas are important, physically, mentally, spiritually. But what has been your greatest challenge in you becoming the businesswoman you are today?
I would 100% say that my greatest challenge has been believing in myself at the level that other people believe in me. And it just another layer of it was uncovered on Wednesday night when I was having a conversation with a girlfriend. And, you know, it's so interesting to hear how other people see you, and then compare that to how you see yourself. And I'm pretty good at being like, I'm a badass. And I still don't see myself the way other people see me. And so I think that's been my greatest challenge, is really truly knowing my power and knowing my impact, and essentially trusting myself enough to uncover it and to live it and to tap into it and to use it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bri, for sharing that. That requires a great deal of vulnerability to share what has been your greatest challenge, which is, I would say, believing in yourself. And I would also say, for me personally, I do feel that some people aren't really, I feel like with you, Bri, you have an entrepreneur background. So like you had those inspirations. And would you say also that you had people that kind of drove you to be an entrepreneur, people that encouraged you to do that, people that kind of like led you down that path? Did anyone have like a deep, you know, support in that area, or were you just, it's something that you pursued with all you had, you know, kind of alone?
So not necessarily anyone that like from the get-go that was like, you should be an entrepreneur. Like I didn't have that. But once I was one, I have had the most divine people enter into my life. I remember I had a mentor that I met in Los Angeles. She was at the Small Business Development Center in Los Angeles, and I went in for a meeting, and I usually met with a different person there, but I met with her that day. And I walked in and I was telling her some of what, was going on in my business and stuff. And she looked at me and she's like, you are incredible. She's like, there is something about you that I can see that I don't see in a lot of other people. And she's like, and you have it. And so she has been, and even still today I've known her, when did I meet her? I must've met her, maybe known her for 6 or 7 years. And I just had lunch with her in February in Los Angeles. And she said to me, she goes, I told you so. She said, do you remember when we had that meeting, that first meeting? And I told you you were going to be amazing. And so every time I see her, she reminds me, she's like, I saw it in you from the second I met you. I knew that this was your path. And like, she's just so convicted in, her belief for me, and she constantly shares it with me, which is just such a beautiful gift. So I absolutely have had people along the way that have encouraged me. Like I said, not necessarily from the inception of me being an entrepreneur,
right?
But definitely along the way.
Okay, I completely relate to that, and I've had so many similar experiences myself. And it's interesting because maybe, as you said, people may not be able to. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in that, to know how we decide we want to be entrepreneurs. I know for me, it was probably like part of my spiritual growth, but it also may have just been a choice because I felt it was a calling for me, which I know you also said it was a calling for you to be an entrepreneur. So today, Bri and I are speaking about manifesting wealth and abundance in your career. So, Bri, we have discussed the meaning and power of wealth. We have also discussed abundance, and we have spoke a great deal about your experiences and you sharing with us different things that I was interested in knowing about entrepreneurism. So, Bri, please share with us the simplest way to begin manifesting abundance in your career. And then we would also like to know, how does manifestation apply to entrepreneurs? What do entrepreneurs need to know most about manifestation?
So first off, I just want to say that, manifestation has gotten kind of a misunderstood, it's gotten a little skewed.
Right.
When The Secret came out, The Secret was all about like, just think positive thoughts and everything will come to you. So the biggest tip I would give people in terms of manifesting more wealth in your life is you have to take action. So
Right.
you can think positive thoughts all day long about all the things. And if you're not actually going out and doing anything about it, it's not going to manifest for you. You want to make more money in your job? Ask for a raise.
Right.
You want to have more clients or increase, the amount of money you're receiving from your clients. You have to be the one to be marketing your business or going out and increasing your prices. Like you can't just, manifestation is not just about sitting at home thinking about what it is you want. You have to go out and get it as well. And I'm not saying you need to go out and like hustle, because I'm very anti-hustle, but you set the intentions, you cultivate the energy, you work with the universe to get it going in the unseen world. And then when you go out and take action, that's the universe's opportunity to then deliver you what it is you're asking for. So it really takes a combination of both. And then your second question about, manifestation and entrepreneurship, for me, entrepreneurship really truly just gives me the freedom to manifest as much wealth as I want. Like my business right now has the infrastructure to support around $200,000 in sales every single month.
Right.
That is like I could never have a job where I made $200,000 a month. My stepdad a few months ago was like, you know, my parents, bless them, have seen the struggles of entrepreneurship that I've been through. And so my stepdad lovingly was like, you know, you could get a really good job making like $70,000 a month. And I was like, you know, that would be a limitation to me. That would not be abundance to me. That would be lack to me, because I have the
Yes.
ability to be making $70,000 a month in my business. So why would I restrict myself by getting a job because it's quote unquote secure, which, by the way, we're in the midst of a pandemic right now. And a lot of those people that have had $70,000 a year jobs are now laid off. So like, but my business is still going. Nothing about my business has changed. So, you know, I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, values and desires and willingness to do something about what it is you want. And so that for me is kind of how manifestation fits into being an entrepreneur.
It's interesting that you say that, Bri, about how action has to meet thought, because I know for me, in high school, I started doing affirmations. It may have been my sophomore year in high school. And I think for me, that spurred some energy deep down within me. And as you said, it stirred those invisible forces to kind of make me act on what I was really saying out loud and thinking. So, have you ever used affirmations in your work that you do? Do you ever like give your clients the advice? Maybe you should start with affirmations. Maybe you should start speaking differently about your circumstances or what you're capable of. Have you ever gave that advice before?
Yeah, I do less around affirmations. I really encourage people to like dig deep, because for me, affirmations are like Band-Aids. So if you have this like deep rooted belief that you can't make money, and that's like this like if you were to look at a plant, right? And there's all these roots underneath that are growing this like I can't make money energy. And then you come in with an affirmation and you basically just like cut off the top of the weed, right? So you don't see the weed anymore. You don't, or you know, it's not growing above ground. You've cut it off. You've applied this affirmation, but underneath the ground, there's still those roots.
Right.
So I think affirmations are important, but it's, for me, it's even more important to know and couple, like you have to get down into the dirt. You really have to look at like the shadow to see like, okay, what are these beliefs that I'm holding on to? Where is this deep rooted understanding that I have about the world and about life that's holding me back? And then I can dive into that. I can understand that. I can clear that out. I can dig up those roots, and then I get to plant the new seeds, and those affirmations are new seeds. So for me, it really depends on how you're using them. If you're using them to just be a Band-Aid and cut the top off the weed, okay, they're probably going to make you feel good for a little bit, but they're not actually going to do the work. You have to go down in, uproot them, and then affirmations can be that planting, that seed, that like new root that will take place. But it's really important to have the full perspective of the process in place.
That is very interesting to think of it that way. And I have heard many people say that affirmations are kind of, which I wouldn't go as far to say that you think they're unrealistic or maybe they don't really have much meaning, because you didn't really say that. But I can understand why you're saying they're like Band-Aids. That in a way, there's so much more work that has to be done, and so many layers are still lying underneath. So, Bri, there are so many people listening to this. There may be entrepreneurs, there may be college students. How do you think that, from the people that you know, because maybe you know other budding entrepreneurs, other people who are succeeding and has been in the entrepreneur world as long as you have, from what you have seen, what did they do? What was the biggest decision they had to make to begin to manifest the business or empire that they imagined having?
Yeah, I really think the biggest thing is you have to let go of who you've been, because you can't be the same person you've been in the past and create a new like business or a new experience, right? Like you have to be willing to change and evolve and grow. And I think for me, entrepreneurship is one of the most spiritual things I think I've ever done, because it has forced me to become the woman that I've been deep down inside, but I had never been willing to be on the outside. And so, if you really truly are interested in being an entrepreneur, you have got to let go of the past. You've got to let go of who you've been. You've got to let go of what you've believed. You've got to let go of how you've looked at the world, and literally be open to everything. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to create something out of nothing. And in order to do that, you need to be the most powerful, aligned, open, like incredible version of yourself that you may not even know exists within you yet.
Bri, I would like to say that I had so much that I wanted to ask you today, and you answered every question. You gave great quality answers, and I'm just so thankful that you were on the show today, and I can see that you have a distinct gift in reach. Thank you so much for being a guest on the MR podcast today. We are so thankful and grateful to have sat down with you today. Now, before we end this episode, I want to ask, are there any last words that you might have to share with the audience, particularly on manifesting wealth and abundance in their career?
Thank you. Yeah, no, this has been fantastic. I'm super grateful that you invited me on. So, one thing I would say is I did create a little bit of a free course for people. So if anyone wants to access it, you can go to my website, briseeley.com. That's BRISEELEY.com. It's on the homepage, and it's called How to Build a Tailor-Made Business to Monetize Your Dreams. So as I mentioned, I think that manifestation happens best when it comes from a passionate, aligned place. And so, take your genius, take your dreams, take everything that is you, and figure out how that can be of service to the world. And that's really one of the best ways to start a business. And then, of course, I talked about some other steps as well. But so if you're really looking to make some money off of building your dreams, using your genius, I would highly recommend you check out that free course.
Well, this is the MR podcast. I, Hannah Lasseter, am the founder of Mentorship Revolution, the founder of the MR podcast, your main speaker and host. We have just completed another dope episode with the one and only Bri Seeley. Please visit Bri's website. As she mentioned, it's Bri Seeley at www.briseeley.com. The title of her book, again, is Permission to Leap. Please do not forget to buy that as well on Amazon, and it is only $3.99. Well, Bri, thank you so much for being on this episode, and thank you all to all the listeners. Thank you for all the supporters of Mentorship Revolution. I hope that you all enjoy this episode. I'm excited about what we're learning about manifesting wealth, and I hope that you all have a nice day.